Good morning. This is James Exum coming to you from my home in South Austin, Texas. It's approximately 10:45 in the morning on Wednesday, August the 19th, it looks like. Yes, it is. And here's my next production for your viewing and information pleasure. This one I have titled Follow the Oil. It's a timely piece, I think, and should be quite revealing to those that are interested in following current events and world history. So let's get right into it. I'll let my narrator take over from this point.
Follow the Oil. James H. Exum, Austin, Texas. Copyrighted August 19th, 2026. All rights reserved. Drill, baby, drill. Donald J. Trump. Follow the oil. From Rockefeller to Trump, from monopoly power to war pressure in the Persian Gulf. If you want to understand power, do not start with the speech. Do not start with the flag. Do not start with the slogan. Start with the money. Then ask where the money comes from, where it is protected, and who gets paid when ordinary people are told to sacrifice. In America, one of the oldest answers is oil. Follow the oil, and the story begins to make sense. Oil is not just fuel in the tank. Oil is transportation, shipping, plastics, fertilizer, military movement, campaign money, Wall Street value, and foreign policy. Oil is the hidden tax in every grocery aisle and every utility bill. When oil rises, the public pays first. When oil companies win, the public often learns about it last. That is why this discourse is simple on purpose. The public does not need a 1,000-page report to understand the pattern. The pattern is this. Powerful oil interests use money and access to shape policy. Politicians use policy to reward those interests, and the rest of us are told the result is patriotism, security, or free markets. Sometimes it is called energy independence. Sometimes it is called national defense. Sometimes it is called war. Rockefeller wrote the first modern playbook. John D. Rockefeller did not invent oil, but he helped invent the modern oil math matrix. His Standard Oil empire grew by controlling refining, transportation, marketing, and distribution. The company became so dominant that by the early 20th century, it stood as one of the clearest examples of monopoly power in American history. The method was not complicated. Buy competitors, pressure suppliers, negotiate special railroad rates, use size as a weapon. If a small refiner could not survive the pressure, Standard Oil could absorb it. If a railroad wanted business, Standard could demand terms. The result was a private empire sitting inside a public economy. The government finally moved against Standard Oil under the Sherman Antitrust Act, and in 1911 the Supreme Court ordered the company broken apart. But here is the part the public should never forget. Breaking up a monopoly did not make the oil mine disappear. It scattered the names, changed the corporate signs, and created successor companies that still shaped American energy for generations. The lesson from Rockefeller is not just that one man got rich. The lesson is that oil learned early how to turn economic power into political power. Once that lesson entered the system, it never really left. From monopoly to influence. After Rockefeller, oil power did not vanish. It matured. It moved through companies, trade groups, lobbyists, think tanks, campaign committees, super PACs, and revolving doors. Instead of one giant trust openly controlling nearly everything, the country got many powerful actors pushing in the same direction. More drilling, fewer restrictions, lower taxes, weaker climate rules, easier permits, and public subsidies dressed up as private enterprise. The language changed, but the logic stayed the same. Oil says it wants freedom from government, but when pipelines need permits, when leases are needed on public land, when sanctions are written, when wars threaten shipping lanes, and when tax breaks are on the table, oil knows exactly where the government is. This is why people should be careful when a politician says, "We are doing this for the consumer." Maybe, but we should still ask, who funded the campaign? Who got the meeting? Who wrote the wish list? And who profited after the decision? Trump put the transaction out in the open. Donald Trump did not create the relationship between oil and politics, but his style made the transaction plain. His political message has often been simple: drill, deregulate, punish opponents, and tout fossil fuel expansion as strength. To many oil executives, that is not just ideology, that is business. During his first term, Trump moved to roll back environmental rules, expand fossil fuel access, open drilling opportunities, and weaken climate-related limits. Those policies fit the industry's long-standing demands. Supporters called it energy dominance. Critics called it a giveaway. Either way, the direction was clear: oil and gas were brought closer to the center of federal power. The clearest reported example came during the 2024 campaign. Multiple reports and congressional letters described an April 2024 dinner at Mar-a-Lago with oil and gas executives. Trump was reported to have asked the industry to help raise $1 billion for his campaign, and to have described that money as a deal compared with the taxes and regulations they could avoid if he returned to office. Reported guest lists and accounts connected the dinner to major oil names and policy promises involving regulation, permitting, leasing, and environmental rules. That is the kind of moment the public should freeze frame. A politician asks a rich industry for massive political help. The industry wants official action. The politician says his policies will save them far more than they give. One hand washes the other, and both hands reach into public policy. What the oil companies wanted. The oil companies did not need poetry. They needed policy. They wanted fewer restrictions on drilling. They wanted faster permits. They wanted friendlier regulators. They wanted tax advantages. They wanted climate rules weakened. They wanted more export freedom, including liquefied natural gas. They wanted Washington to treat fossil fuels not as one energy source among many, but as the backbone of national strategy. The public should understand that these are not abstract requests. A permit can be worth millions. A tax provision can be worth billions. A relaxed rule can change the value of a company overnight. A foreign policy decision can open or close an entire route for oil, gas, and shipping. When a president says, "Drill, baby, drill," companies hear balance sheets. This is why campaign money matters. It is not only about who likes whom. It is about access. It is about whose phone call gets answered. It is about whose problem becomes an emergency and whose suffering gets told to wait. Iran, Hormuz, and the oil choke point. Now follow the oil overseas. Iran matters to oil not only because of what it produces, but because of where it sits. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important energy passages on Earth. A major share of the world's seaborne oil and liquefied natural gas moves through that narrow waterway. When Hormuz is threatened, markets shake. When markets shake, prices rise. When prices rise, the public pays. That is why Iran is never just Iran in Washington. It is nuclear policy. It is Israeli security. It is sanctions. It is Gulf alliances. It is shipping lanes. It is the dollar. It is oil. Any president who escalates with Iran is not only making a military decision, he is also making an energy decision. In recent reporting on the 2026 Iran conflict, U.S. and Israeli military operations, Iranian retaliation, shipping disruptions, and disputes over Hormuz were all tied directly to oil market fear. The point is not that oil is the only cause of war. War is rarely that simple. The point is that oil makes the war bigger, richer, and more dangerous. Oil turns a regional conflict into a global price shock. How the pattern leads to war pressure. Here is the simple logic. First, the oil industry helps finance friendly politics. Second, friendly politics weakens limits and expands fossil fuel priorities. Third, foreign policy begins to protect those priorities more aggressively. Fourth, when a nation like Iran threatens an oil choke point, the government frames confrontation as security. Fifth, the same industry that benefits from scarcity, expansion, and crisis sits close to the policymakers who decide what crisis requires. This does not mean every soldier fights for oil, or every military decision is written by an oil executive. That would be too easy, and it would not be honest. What it means is that oil creates the conditions, incentives, and pressure. It defines what Washington calls vital. It defines which sea lane becomes sacred. It defines which country becomes unbearable. It defines which risk is worth taking. When Trump puts oil companies at the center of his coalition, and when those companies are reported to seek policy rewards for political support, then the public must ask hard questions about every conflict connected to energy. Are we defending freedom or defending a business model? Are we protecting Americans or protecting profits? Are we lowering costs or creating the next excuse for higher prices? The price comes home. The public pays for oil politics in more than one way. We pay at the pump. We pay through inflation. We pay through subsidies and tax breaks. We pay when public land is leased cheaply. We pay when pollution becomes sickness. We pay when storms get worse and cleanup becomes public expense. And we pay when young military troops are sent into places where oil makes every decision heavier. The old trick is to separate these costs so people cannot see the total bill. Gas prices are one story. Campaign donations are another story. Iran is another story. Climate rules are another story. Tax breaks are another story. But they are not separate stories. They are chapters in the same book. That book is called Follow the Oil. Conclusion: do not look away. From Rockefeller to the present, the oil story keeps teaching the same lesson. Concentrated energy wealth becomes concentrated political power. That power demands access. Access produces policy. Policy protects profits. And when foreign conflict threatens the flow of oil, the public is told to rally around decisions it did not make and interests it does not own. Trump did not invent the bargain, but he made it easier to see. His reported approach to oil executives treated politics like a transaction. Help me, and I will help you. The oil companies understood that language because powerful industries have always understood that language. Rockefeller understood it. The railroads understood it. Modern fossil fuel executives understand it. The public must understand it too. So when the next war is explained, ask about the oil. When the next sanction is announced, ask about the oil. When the next campaign donation arrives, ask about the oil. When the next politician says he is fighting for the people, ask who was in the room before the people heard the speech. Because if we follow the oil, we often find the truth waiting at the end of the presidential pipeline.
And once again, there it is. That research was a bit difficult to obtain. A lot of channels, so to speak, are being blocked by decree from the executive rooms of power. We are being censored not only by being told the press is crooked and fake news, we are being censored by access online to certain old stories and old reports. I found a slow but sure way to get around that roadblock. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I find it to be informative, and if you liked it, that's great. If you did not, that's okay too. But if you did like it, let your friends and family in on what I am exposing to the world through my latest presentations on YouTube on my channel. These presentations will appear under the heading The Witness to History. My yoga work, as far as my production of new videos, are intermittently mixed into the channel's supply. But right now I'm putting politics ahead of yoga philosophy because in a way yoga philosophy is mixed into that. It's mixed under dharma, it's mixed under karma, it's mixed under righteousness, it's mixed under the soul being punished in the end for its deeds, and the human body being punished in this life. So I'll let you go. And oh, by the way, the series I'm doing on what's happening in comparison to North Korea and Iran as far as nuclear proliferation, that second episode will be coming up probably this afternoon, and then the closing episode, the third episode, maybe this evening or tomorrow morning. Well, thank you again for dropping by, and I hope you enjoyed it, like I said, and good day to you.